Why do some businesses sell for far less than they're worth? We always hear about the very high-flying numbers, but there's many businesses that never get the value, never get the terms that they deserve, and we're always scratching our head as to why. In today's video, we want to talk about 4 main reasons why that's the case, 4 main pitfalls, if you will, that you can avoid, that we can avoid with our clients when we're pursuing the sale of a business. So the first pitfall is a poor narrative. So what we mean by that is that businesses sell on 3 main prongs: the fundamentals, or the profitability of the business, the access the business has to a particular end market or client base, and its proprietary capabilities, or what is its secret sauce, what is it special at. And all of these 3 prongs need to be defined comprehensively and in depth, and if not, if too much focuses on one, if some are just ignored, it's not going to create the value for the business that it deserves. Secondly is a poor outreach. So a lot of times companies are receiving inbounds every month, every week. Hey, this company wants to buy us. Hey, that company wants to buy us. And when they ultimately go to sell the business, they just take a look at the list of, hey, here are the 15 people that reached out to us over the last year. Let's run a process with that and see where it goes. Alternatively, on the other end of the spectrum, you'll have investment banks or M&A advisors that will just send blanketed information with no personalization, with no kind of crafting of the narrative to the prospective acquirer to 20,000 people and wait for the phone to ring. Both of these don't work well. The best pursuit is one that is proactive, that includes some of the people that have already reached out if they fit the bill, if they're a bona fide interested party, but is research heavy up front. Who would be the optimal counterparty? Looking at everybody's puzzle across the industry and across different industries and saying, where is this the missing puzzle piece for someone? Because that's ultimately where that narrative, if well defined, will be most appreciated and valued. The next is poor access. So even if you can define the right parties for who would want to buy your company, you have to be able to get them to look at it and get them to pay attention. And one of the tricky parts about the businesses that we work with in the middle market, lower middle market, in that $1 to $10 million EBITDA range, is that you may have the best counterparty for a business being a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. How do you get that party's attention to pay attention to what may be a $50 million deal, a $20 million deal, a $10 million deal, a $5 million deal? And there's a specific process that needs to be implemented to get the attention. And so the information has to be crafted in a particular way, the outreach has to be done in a particular way, the right conversation has to take place for someone to see, this is important to us, this is why we should value this business, irrespective of how different we are in sizes. And being able to get that person on the phone, to respond to the emails, to be on the Zoom calls, to take the meetings, that's important, and that's something that we emphasize in every single engagement. Lastly is a poor process. So all of these other things can be right. You could have the right narrative, you could know who to reach out to, you could get them to want to talk to you, but if the process is not facilitated in the right way, it's not going to lead to a good result. What we mean by this is all parties need to know there are other parties in the exercise. It needs to be on a lockstep fashion. All horses are racing against each other in a way. And that's not to sound facetious or negative, but that's the exercise that needs to take place. And by virtue of doing that, all of the data is coming in simultaneously. And therefore, you can look at the metrics across the board of, okay, dollar price, okay, structure, okay, transition period, okay, this is what happens with employees and stakeholders and what we want for them. Right? And so if you can get all of the data coming in at the same time, it allows you to negotiate in real time and gives you the optimal leverage, because you'll know where every variable is for every party, and the goal being to maximize all of the variables for the party that you ultimately pursue a transaction with. And so those are the 4 pitfalls to avoid when trying to find a good outcome. And by virtue of that, any of the pitfalls that can cause a less than optimal outcome when selling a business. And those are a poor narrative, poor outreach, poor access, and a poor process. And so our tip and our advice when seeking to pursue the exit of a business, use the right firm. And this isn't us selling our own book. If we talk to a prospective client where we're not the best firm, best suited for what they're doing, we will refer them to someone that we feel is. And that's the important part, is that there's not the right investment bank or advisory firm for every single situation. It's going to be heavily dependent on your business. And we like to broadly define that as complexion and size. We focus entirely on companies generating $1 to $10 million in EBITDA that are typically owned by families, entrepreneurs, small groups of investors that are not institutionally funded or private equity backed or sponsored in that sense, and across industries, but where there is a durable competitive advantage. If someone comes to us and says, hi, we're a VC-backed seed stage company that has a prototype but no revenue, that's not going to be a situation that we are capable of delivering the best results, because it's not the swimming pool that we swim in. Capital and acquirers all have ecosystems, and it tends to be that similar firms with similar groups stick around in similar circles. And by virtue of that, you really need to stick to your songs to some degree, and that's what we like to do. And so when you're selecting a firm of who's going to represent you, make sure it's a firm that understands your size, your ownership complexion, and your goals, and where there's great alignment in that regard, because the best firm's not going to be the best firm for every company. And so that's a thought for today. Hope the week continues to go well. Keep pushing forward. God bless. We'll see you for next time.